Ahoy there! I'm DeadBrokeNerd, and I'm really excited to bring you guys another episode of DBN and Friends. This is a series where I interview some of the amazing members of the Elder Scrolls Legends community. This week, I have a guest whose impact has extended just far beyond Tessel, and he's worked really hard to organize and provide a platform for tournaments and meaningful content across several games. So, without further ado, I am thrilled to introduce the co-founder of Team Rankstar, Aphelion. Well, welcome back. DBN and Friends is here with another episode, and like I told you, I have Aphelion here, the co-founder and amazing Team Rankstar leader that he is. Thanks so much for joining me, man.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate you inviting me to be on the show.
Dude, it's really exciting. We got the boss man in the chair, and he's going to tell us a little bit about himself because I think that, you're the guy who goes behind the scenes and you make sure everything gets done. So tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm 30. I'm from Portland, Oregon, or I live in Portland, Oregon. I've been gaming since I was super young. Starting with JRPGs and Sonic the Hedgehog back in the day, moving into like the JRPGs into ultimately World of Warcraft and Halo in that era, and then digital card games have been sort of at it more or less my entire life. That's been sort of the one constant. Yeah, I've been part of the various gaming communities for a long time. I play a lot of Magic in real life, and most of my friends at this point are based around the Magic player base. And so I spend a lot of time sort of cultivating that community and, working on hosting events and things like that in the Portland area. And then, that sort of transition into doing stuff, online. And that's sort of how Team Rankstar came into fruition.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I was gonna ask, like, one of the things I always talk to my guests about pretty early on is the origin story, right? So, like, as Team Rankstar has become what it is, just what was that process like? I mean, you talked about and you already kind of touched on the gaming growing up and stuff like that, and I want to get back to that in a second because I love hearing stories about when I was a kid, this is what got me into gaming. I want to touch on that too, but Team Rankstar, man, that's the big thing, right? We got the logo of like right up there. So I would love to hear about how that came about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Team Rankstar, it was kind of originally my idea a long time ago was to have like a Wild Hearthstone team. That didn't really happen in the way that I thought it would, in that I wasn't actually that good at Hearthstone. So having people come and play with and for me, slash, what have you, write articles and that sort of thing, I wasn't able to sort of make those connections as easily. And so the idea didn't really actually come into anything. But then as I sort of, once the seed was planted, I knew that finding a gaming community or building a community around the games that I loved was really important to me. And so I was playing heavily Eternal at the time. And I started sort of an internal team, and I was essentially writing articles. I was writing most of the content at that point. We had just a really basic sort of website that I was posting those on, and I was pretty active in people's streams and things like that. And so I just started to get to know people. And then there weren't really very many teams at the time in Eternal. I think there was two others maybe. And so I decided to just sort of take the plunge. And then it was just sort of connecting with, interested parties and people who were members of the community that I had a lot of respect for, and I was able to sort of, bring them into the fold. And as it grew, at the time, the developer Direwolf Digital's sort of sister game was the Elder Scrolls Legends. And so it was a natural it was really easy for us to kind of branch off into that, because we already had there's sort of an overlapping parts of the community, and so we were able to reach out and connect with players in the Elder Scrolls Legends community and sort of start building up from there. We weren't super successful in the Elder Scrolls Legends at first. I definitely had a few. I didn't really know the community well enough to make really strong judgment calls, and so I had to figure it out by just talking to really experienced members of the community at that time. And that was really helpful. Yeah, and then since then we've slowly added more games and more concepts of things that we're doing, from ranging from just having tournament teams and streamers and articles to doing tournaments
Yeah.
themselves and things like that. Yeah, and so that's been happening since about June of last year. We're just over our year anniversary actually, so it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, heck yeah. No, I mean, it's
Mm.
crazy. Like all of the tournaments that have been rolling out and stuff like that. And I mean, obviously the big one, with
Mhm.
with Master Series qualifiers, which was, man, I gotta imagine that was a little stressful for you, bud.
Yeah, it was. I have Lateralis to thank for quite a bit of it. He actually poured his blood, sweat, and tears into that
Oh, I
project,
know
and
he
that was
did.
definitely
Yeah.
his baby. And he was up late at night, and early in the morning to make sure everything was firing on all cylinders. So, as much credit as Team Rankstar can take, I think most of it belongs in Lateralis because he really just carried the torch on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean,
Mhm.
it's not just Elder Scrolls Legends, right? I mean, I know there's been some Gwent tournaments which I have been dying to play in, but I've been too
Mhm.
busy. But Gwent, and I know there's some Wild Hearthstone tournaments. Like, can you give me the lowdown on all the stuff going on?
Yeah, absolutely. So the reason why sort of Lateralis took over, and he built a really strong team which included you as casting, and we're really grateful for everybody who was able to work on that Master Series project. The reason why he did take over primarily is so that I could continue to build these other areas.
Hmm.
And so one of the biggest focuses is sort of Gwent. It was Yeah, we were really hedging on Artifact, but everyone knows how that story ends.
Yeah.
And so we were doing a lot of things with Gwent, and we had a lot of sort of experienced players that we were working with in Gwent, and so we decided to just kind of get the ball rolling in sort of a similar direction as we did with monthly events. And now we have sort of a thematic monthly event that we do that has a lot of we have a lot of plans for its future, which I'm really excited about, and some of them
Yeah.
haven't been unveiled yet. But we've been putting in a lot of work behind the scenes on that, and that's going really well and is well received by the community, and people seem to enjoy playing in them. And then, like you mentioned, we have done several Wild Hearthstone tournaments, and those have also been really well received by the community and been a lot of fun for us to put on. And it's really cool because one of the things that I really enjoy about being a part of, or being the owner of Team Rankstar and being a part of all of this, is that it really does like connect people from all over the world. Like, as cheesy
Yeah.
as that sounds, but like the person helping me coordinate the Wild Hearthstone tournaments, Reno, is based in Australia, and then and then I'm talking to somebody in Croatia, super thanks, and just these people from this really international team that's has been really interesting and exciting to sort of get to know. The inverse of that is that being in time zone, sometimes I'll get a
Oh.
message at
Yeah.
1:45 in the morning, and I'm like, "What? Get this out of here."
Yeah, no, I get that for sure. I
Mhm.
it was tough even just doing this with Eola's about a month or so ago.
Yeah. Oh
Just like
yeah.
trying to find that time zone that worked for
Mhm.
both. Yeah.
Right. And I think she's like 5 hours behind us, but 2 days in the future or something
It's
like that.
something crazy, yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just call it time zone magic and leave it at
Exactly. Like, you're
that.
awake, I'm awake. So I can work with that.
Yeah, for sure. So we talked a little bit about Team Rankstar and all the tournaments and stuff like that. What I do kind of
Mhm.
find interesting is that I mean it's definitely a passion project for you, right?
Mhm.
I mean, I know it's not. I know it's not your full time job, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's something that a lot of times people don't maybe fully understand, or they don't, I guess, maybe care to understand, which I completely respect. But this is a hobby or a passion project. We don't, this is not a profitable endeavor by any means. Most
Mm,
of the things that have come into making Team Rankstar what it is come out of my own pocket, and I'm happy to do that because it's my primary hobby and it's something that I love doing. But we it's only just now starting to become sort of self-sustaining
yeah.
and really gain that momentum. So yes, it is very much a passion project. I have a 45-hour a week job that I work outside of Team Ringstar, and then I come home and do this, and try to do stuff in the middle and do stuff
Yeah.
on the weekends. And so it is something that I really enjoy doing, which is why I do it. But it is by no means anybody's main job. No one
Yeah.
really gets paid full time for anything like that.
Well, and that's awesome too. I mean, just the idea that like, fitting in messages on Discord, in between things at work. And I know that you stay really busy because we talked about it before, but that's awesome too. And that's something I think you're right. I think not a lot of people always appreciate the idea that a lot of these, organizations, it comes from that person who says, I want everybody to enjoy this. I want to spread the love of gaming and card games and digital card games, and just, spawning from that raw love of community, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I think like astounded me when I got involved with Team Rankstar, which I'm, honestly kind of super blessed by, because I was kind of floating out there on my own for a long time. But as soon as getting involved, I'm not much of a Discord guy. I'm not much of a Reddit guy, but I mean, having that community there, I found myself getting much more involved, talking with people about all the other games and stuff. I mean, that's kind of what it's all about,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I'd like to say that we're super happy to have you.
Yeah.
Everybody who gets involved for various reasons, and it's really cool to see folks like you get the opportunity to join us and then do something really fun that you're passionate about, and like
Yeah.
put yourself out there, and also be able to grow that part of yourself, or at least that's from my perspective what I see people doing, and that's always really that's why we do it.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, it is primarily about community for me, and that was the biggest thing. And I spend a lot more time on Discord than I do probably the other media formats at this point. Like, I'm not much of a Facebook guy or an Instagram guy or a Twitter guy. Even I work on that a little bit more, but even Reddit, I don't spend a whole lot of time on, but Discord seems to be where like a lot of the community is fostered these days. And, especially in our Discord, in the Team Rankstar Discord, like I get a chance to talk with people and connect with, folks in the public channels and just talk about, the various games that I'm playing. And, I don't have a ton of free time, especially to play and focus on one game. So I try to get, out, a little bit out there and have people give me their advice as to what is the right thing to be doing in the games that I, enjoy trying out. And so that's another thing that I really enjoy is, if I haven't played The Elder Scrolls Legends in, several months, I can say like, hey, like Immortal August, what are you playing right now? And he's like,
Yeah.
these ranks and like you do this. And I'm like, great, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it is nice to be able to, and I know when I got really into Gwent and I just couldn't beat Northern Realms, it would just popping over and being like, hey, Flake,
Excuse me.
help.
You do this more than I do, so.
Yeah. It is nice to have that little bit of resource. And now, I know everybody is, I mean, shoot. What's crazy to me, and this is just kind of off topic, but what's crazy to me is recently there's been this huge influx of games that everyone's been getting into, I mean, it started with like auto chess, but then like I had Lateralis breathing down my neck about trying Minion Masters, and now everybody is in on Dota Underlords, which again, I'm gonna give it a try. I gotta give it a shot. But man, as somebody with 3,000 hours on Dota 2, it is just so surreal seeing like all the little characters, but not doing what they normally do.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and I agree with you. It's funny. This kind of came up a lot with Artifact, but it was supposed to be the Dota card game or what have you, and a lot of like Dota players were like, I don't want to play that. This has nothing to do with my interests in any way. And I always kind of thought that was like comical because it just kind of showed how, I want to say out of touch the developers were, but just kind of like the thoughts that this isn't how you market this. But that being said, I do think a lot of right now it's really an interesting time because there are a lot of IPs that are popping up that are like really interesting and things that haven't necessarily been done. I think the biggest culprit of this would be the sort of the auto chess generation. We're kind of in this weird gaming has evolved in a lot of different ways over the past decade. And it's been kind of cool to watch like the rise and fall of the first person shooter, watching like CSGO and Halo and like Call of Duty become these like top dogs. This is
Yeah.
what the gaming world is perceived as. And then MOBAs came out,
Oh my gosh.
first person shooters
Everyone
went
had
there.
to have a MOBA.
Yeah, everyone had to
Yeah.
have a MOBA, and people were trying to innovate on it. Smite was like third person and like more action oriented, and then
Yeah.
there was like I think it was called Vainglory, which is like
Oh,
mobile or
they
something. And
had like Paragon, which was like that big
yeah,
studio did, and that one. I mean, I even tried that, and but
yeah, yeah, exactly. And so, Battle Royale was the thing, and this like not weird, but this interesting liminal space of like, are these auto battlers, or these like auto chess, team fight tactics and
yeah,
underlords? Like, are these the next big thing? Like, move over Fortnite? Is this going to be the rise to
yeah,
the top? I don't think they'll be quite that popular personally, but it's interesting to see that that's kind of where we're at. And that's like what's interesting a lot of people
yeah,
right now. But as such, because they're all coming out trying to beat out their competition and they're like forcing them out as quickly as humanly possible, now there's like half a dozen games that we all want to play.
yeah.
And
Oh,
we're
I
like,
know.
oh my God, like I only have 3 hours after work before bed. Like, what do I even do?
It's like how do I even try to prioritize my time?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm decent amount of masters. It's probably the game outside of Magic I play the most, but I play, I don't get nearly enough time, and I'm still like silver 4 or something. Like, I'm still very low rank in it because there's just too much, too many other things going on.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Wait, well, off topic. We'll have to play some duo sometime, man. I've been
Oh
really
yeah, I would
loving
love
Minion
that.
Masters for sure. It's been a blast, but
Hmm.
yeah. So let's. So I kind of want. I said I was going to do this. I kind of want to turn the clock back.
Hmm.
Let's talk young Aphelion, and just like talk to me about what gaming was to you and why it's carried you this far and you stuck with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I'm going to go real cliche and kind of cheesy because it's very true for me. And I think it might be even true for a lot of other people. But, I was very much a misfit when I was younger.
Mm,
I was chubby. I didn't have friends. Like, I just didn't have, I didn't have the capacity of interacting with people that I do now. A lot of those skills I sort of learned later in life. But when you're younger, you just like aren't. You're still very unsure of yourself. You don't have a ton of confidence. You're still sort of figuring out who you are. And
yeah.
for me, as I was, that weird or that interesting thing that happens when you're sort of naturally a loner is that you start to play video games, and you
Yeah.
the video game communities. And as the internet started to become a thing, I got really into StarCraft and Warcraft 2 online. And, I had a clan and we did ladder matches. And that was sort of that was a lot of my community as far as like being social with people and getting to know people out there in the world. And, of course I had friends and that sort of thing, but they would, usually when they would come over, they'd still come over to play, video games,
Yeah.
various two-player games. But I didn't really have a lot of like sort of what's the word I'm looking for? I had a decent amount of friends, but I didn't have a lot of like close friends. And but then those close friends sort of came from the gaming community. As I was growing up, my like best friends in high school were people I ended up playing Halo with, and I
Mm.
became really close with them, and they're still, I'm going to be a groomsman in one of their weddings later this
Oh,
year,
that's
and I'm really
awesome.
excited about
Congrats.
that. Yeah, thank you. But it was, kind of this perfect storm of meeting these people and having this platform to sort of get to know them and be, get close with them. It's something to do. It keeps you out of trouble. Your parents usually
Yeah.
don't have a problem buying you a $60 game every 3 months, not doing whatever else they could be
Yeah.
worried about.
That's true. Yeah.
Exactly. Aside from just the recurring pizza boxes that would appear in the basement, there's really no fallout or what have you. So, and then I got getting into WoW. Or World of Warcraft was one of the most unique and interesting experiences community wise that I had ever sort of been a part of. It was it was very much the information superhighway connecting people as far as I could tell, because it was, instead of the previous games that I had played were StarCraft, you're not really talking to your opponent. You're trying to like maximize your clicks per minute. You're trying to like, build your base faster than them. And Halo, the only talking that you're getting is like, screaming at your opponents, probably some obscenities. So there's not a whole lot of, there wasn't a lot of connection in that. Then when World of Warcraft came out, it was much more about, focusing on these like guilds and like, you'd spend 5-6 hours a day sometimes with these people raiding, and like, so you'd get to know them, you'd have downtime, and you'd be like, oh, hey, Sarah, how are your kids? Like, tell me about your life. Like, oh yeah, I'm like a high school student. My life's not very interesting, but like, tell me about yours,
Yeah.
And that was my first sort of like foray into just seeing what it was all about and how important it can be. And it really connected me with the outside world. And I had a lot of people who were, in my guild, that this was their social life. Like, this was how they connected with other people, and they had a hard time connecting with folks in real life for, various reasons. It became, as I became older and a little bit more confident and a little bit more gregarious, it helped me realize how important things like that are for people, and connection, and finding their tribe and the people that they want to spend time with. And so I found sort of the platform that I was able to do that was Team Rankstar, is finding this team and being able to connect people this way. And if you had asked me a year ago where I thought we'd be in a year, I would have been very unsure, but I'm like so incredibly happy and proud of everyone with where it's come, and how inclusive the community has been, and how sort of how beautiful the construction of the community it's been. So I'm like, so it's kind of exactly what I would envision, but I didn't see it happening as perfectly as it has happened.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, I mean, I can certainly, attest that Team Rankstar has just been a consistently positive and respectful place, which is astounding. I mean, like I said, I played 3,000 hours of Dota 2. I mean, the internet has its way of just being miserable at times, and it's just amazing that being able to assemble a group that manages to have, respectful discourse on a consistent basis.
Yeah, and part of that, me being a queer person of color, it's pretty easy for me to set very definitive lines and expectations for people to, uphold. And I haven't had any issues with that whatsoever. I have not had anybody, even not associated with Team Rankstar, come into our, Discord and really say very disrespectful things. So I consider that a blessing, because like you, I played a ton of League of Legends and things like that. And so I heard and read some of the most just like colorful possibly imagine. The MOBA community is really interesting in that. I think that's like very much a MOBA community thing.
Yeah, it's odd too, because like for games that require so much teamwork, you'd figure people would be a little more willing to get along.
And I think that's again part of why it's so nice to find a group of people to play with, because then you're like, okay, I don't have to talk to strangers and deal with all that. But sometimes it can be nice to get to know people you aren't familiar with.
Well, and you raised a really relevant point, which is that like you were talking about how when you were playing WoW, you had that group of people that you got to know. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's so much of it, I think, too. Like, I mean, honestly, like to this day, my best friend and I are best friends because, we graduated high school and we were rowers on the rowing team together and we were close. Mm-hmm. But, the only reason we are still hanging out 9 years later is because we played Dota 2 together. Like, and when I was going through college, and he was working, and just like almost every day, man, you get on, then you get a couple more people and you do get to know them. I mean, shoot, I mean, I kept up with him and like 2 or 3 other people that were regularly in the rotation, a guy from Brazil, and it's just crazy, but you get to know them, who they are. And that's the crazy thing. Like I'll hear people, and I even have some friends who, they are not super convinced that gaming is a positive force. And as soon as I hear that, I say, you know what, gaming can be so negative, but it also brings people together in really unique ways that like you just can't get elsewhere.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, speaking to the point of people having negative perception of gaming, I think it's kind of like they caught the news headline based around gaming, which
Yeah.
it's like anything in news headlines are kind of sensationalized and usually negative. So
Hmm.
like what their probably association is like, man plays EverQuest for 450 hours consecutively and like his wife leaves him, and they're like,
Yeah.
so that's their perception of gaming. Non-gamers don't realize how important it is for gamers to like have that resource to feel connected and things like that. And so I think, I'm blessed because my family is, incredibly understanding, and they've always been very supportive of me gaming. But I've definitely had friends whose family are, again, all they know of gaming is the headlines. And so they
Yeah.
think, oh my gosh, my son's going to be this like, gaming junkie or what have
Yeah.
you, which is like, ridiculous. So
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's so funny. Like, it just rhymes so much with just the misinformation. I mean, when you think about D&D in the '80s, and
Mhm.
I read like an
Mhm.
entire paper, talking about where the misconceptions came from, and I'm
Right.
excited another 10, 20 years to read another paper evaluating the anti-gaming rhetoric, from the
Right.
2000s and 2010s.
Right. No, absolutely. And I mean, as much as I dislike some of the things that have happened in gaming, I also understand how, uh, excuse me, how important they are for those communities. And while I don't understand them, like I would certainly never shun them just because I don't understand them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
And that's one of those things that like being a community built around misfits, like generally speaking, people are more accepted here than they are elsewhere in the world, because
yeah.
everybody's sort of got their thing. And so we all kind of understand that. And like, that's what's so cool about it is I was just up at Magic Fest Seattle, which is like I don't know, 8,000 person magic tournament, not
Oh
quite that
wow.
many, probably 5,000 person magic tournament,
Jeez.
across the main event and several side events and vendors and
Hmm.
artists and panels and all that good stuff. And anyway, like walking around the room, it's one of those. It's the beautiful thing about the magic community, and the thing that sort of got me so connected with it is that it's so inclusive.
Hmm.
It's so there are no like it's walking around the room, you just see this like beautiful rainbow of people from different walks of life, like smiling, laughing,
Yeah.
salting, all sort of in unison, but like also around this like, common interest and all being accepted for who they are and what they're, what kinds of things they're interested in. And that's like it was so beautiful. At one point I remember just kind of looking around like, yes, like
Just reveling. Yeah.
yeah, totally. And so, and I feel like the online card gaming community is very similar to that. So I'm very
Yeah.
grateful to be a part of it.
Yeah. No, and it's crazy because I think that's something that has to have been in the last decade. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm thinking specifically, and I'm referring to this again mostly because it kind of rhymes with what you were talking about the diversity, right? Is that
Hmm.
like just looking at the Dungeons and Dragons community, like post. I mean, I don't know how much you're familiar with it, but post like the podcast renaissance,
Yeah, oh,
right?
absolutely.
And just looking at it now, it's just so many people just coming out of the woodwork and not being afraid to express who they are through
Yeah,
their either themselves and their artwork, characters. And I mean, it's just, and I think
right.
that's extending through multiple facets of gaming, not just tabletop, but into the digital realm too. And at least I hope it is.
Oh, absolutely. I think D&D is I didn't have a name for it, but the podcast renaissance is, I think, so important to gaming as a whole because it
Mm-hmm.
really just put into light that gaming is this really cool and inclusive thing, and that it can be really entertaining and it can be like a spectacle. It doesn't have to be like D&D was classically a game done behind closed doors, and so
Mm-hmm.
people who didn't understand it thought maybe it was like like back in the 80s, these clandestine Satan satanic rituals or
Yeah.
but like, no, it's just it's this really fun thing that people want to like get out of their normal day and like act as these characters and like have that like
Yeah.
life, and it's not necessarily like escapism like people think. It's just like having fun, playing with your friends.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's that kind of thing. So yeah, I think that kind of thing, especially with D&D, it's cool to see. Now you go to a magic shop and there's Wednesday nights D&D night and there's 10 games happening. You're like, this is
Yeah.
so cool. This used to be like a basement thing. Now it's an outside thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's just something that's really neat. And I actually, I find it Man, I get a little jealous. You know, you're talking about the a big, huge 5,000, 8,000 person Magic tournament, and it just,
Hmm.
oh man, as somebody who's my moniker being the dead broke nerd, it's not just
Hmm.
made up, and you kind of have to do those priority things. Like, man, I'd love to go to that big gaming convention, but I
Yeah,
can't. But
but yeah.
just it's got to be so cool to be in such a big room with all people who have those shared interests. That's just got to be an experience.
Yeah, I mean, I've been really lucky and been able to find my way into conventions from, birthday gifts and
Hmm.
family being really happy to see me. And my birthday was just a few weeks ago, so I was able to work my way into like, hey, live at the Penny Arcade Expo, and
Yeah.
that's I would highly recommend angling it that way because that's usually how to make it happen. But
Yeah.
it's cool seeing those, and if you can do it once and that's something that interests you, like I would highly recommend it. Find one that's local. Don't travel too far unless you can of course afford it, but if you can find one that's like not that far away and just go and check it out for a day. Tickets, well, they can usually be a little bit steep. They can be upwards of $100, but usually they're
Hmm.
somewhere in the 50-60 range. But it's worth just like going, packing a lunch, and just like seeing the nerds out in force. It's such a like powerful experience.
Yeah, for sure. And the nerds out in
Mhm.
force. I like
Mhm.
that. So let's talk about because do you compete in Magic events?
Yeah, so I
I
my
mean, for the record, you're gonna have to dumb some things down because I don't play Magic. I
oh,
get the
totally.
rules, the very basics, but that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thankfully, most card games still have sort of a backbone is still based around magic. So there's
Hmm.
attacking and defense and mana costs used to pay for spells and that sort of thing. So it's really cool to see how a lot of card games have innovated on that, and same with just like basic systems like attacking. Like I love the lane system. That's one of the things that
Oh yeah.
attracts me the most to test legends is that
Hmm.
they've taken something that like has been done a lot of various times before and really just added a lot of unique elements. But so Magic is the only card game that I compete in at this point. I have pretty much toned down my competitive career for whatever that was worth. And I pretty much only play in what they call regular REL events, and that's
Hmm.
a rules enforcement level. And I think it's regular, competitive, and then pro. And pro is like pro tour, like the highest level of competition.
Hmm.
Competitive is like pretty much most things, and then regular REL is like an F and plan with people, and there's not really that many rules and fractions. And the reason why is because anything above regular REL, people become kind of mean, and it's not,
Yeah.
it's just their competitive nature coming out where they're just like, "Grr," and they
Hmm.
don't necessarily mean to, but like that's not why I'm there. I'm
Yeah.
there to
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
have fun and play games, and yes, I like winning, but it's not at the cost of like your feelings or discounting that. And that's
Hmm.
one of the sad things not sad, but one of the realistic things that I see in just competitive games is that that's becomes a big focus for people, which I totally respect. It's just not me.
Yeah.
So when I go to a Magic tournament, I play this format called Legacy, which is
Hmm.
essentially all of the cards that have been released with the exception of a ban list.
Hmm.
And it allows you to just do really like over the course of Magic's history, which it's a
Yeah.
25+ year old game. It's got a lot of just quirky and ridiculous things that can happen, and so I love playing that format because it allows me to do really powerful, ridiculous things without much hindrance.
Yeah.
Whereas in standard, if you're going to do powerful, ridiculous things, you've got to like have this huge setup. Like, but in
Yeah.
Legacy, I can just do like I'm going to play these two cards and you the game. Um,
Just absolutely bonkers. Just take it up to
yeah,
11. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And so I play, yeah, which is basically focused around your life total is 20 in Magic, and the whole strategy is focused around trying your best to lock your opponent out of the game, and then make a 20/20 creature with flying and indestructible, so you can just hit them in the face. Yeah, and
Just the old
it's
OTK.
yeah, you're just like okay, and I did it. I did it rather enjoyable.
Very
I had a good
cool.
time playing Legacy, but I don't compete in any of the digital card games. I've been
Hmm.
lurking sub rank 5 in the Elder Scrolls Legends since forever. Basically, I think
Hmm.
I got to rank 4, got to rank 1 once, and that was the highest I ever got. And I just couldn't make that final push. It was like the end of a month. It was like September 29th of last year, and I just tried everything I could do, but I just couldn't get the time to make the push. And
it's time, man. It's time.
It's time. Yeah, I knew I know I can, and
yeah,
back then, but I just like didn't. I didn't have the time. Like it was like, you know, I work kind of a weird schedule, and so I just couldn't make it happen. And that was probably pretty much the last time. Or I pushed into Masters a few times in Eternal. That was pretty much it. And that's like I don't have the need to, you know, put in the time to do that at this point. Not that I discredit it. I think it's a really awesome thing, and if I had the time, I would totally do it. But being that I don't, it's more important for me to just like find some janky, you know, Warriors 7 Unite the Houses list and unite those houses.
Just have some fun. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Your Warrior 7 stream.
Yeah. Rest in peace. The big question is Warrior 7 Empire Oathman? Ooh. That's been the theory that I've been most interested in.
I mean, that would be a really, really good ruse on Warrior 7, because that's the person I would least expect to like hold it down as well as they have. But like, if it is good for you. Either way, much respect for Empire Oath.
Oh, absolutely. It's been one of the funniest things to watch.
Yeah. The interesting thing about the Empire Oath, they're like lawful good, I guess, or lawful neutral. I don't even know how you say it, but they're such a just great balancing force in the community. And I absolutely love reading their posts.
Yeah, no, of course, and you know, the funny thing is when you message them, you know, like when you DM them on Discord, like stays completely in character. Just in every single, it's just so funny.
Yeah, I've had the privilege of reaching out one time, and yes, that was the case.
Oh man. So we talked a little bit about Magic and competition and stuff like that. So let's just talk more about Tesla, you know, and I know, and they're like you said, you like reuniting them houses. But let's just, you know, so have you been following the new stuff, the new set coming out?
Yeah, as much as I can. You know, I look at part of the reason they don't play draft or limited formats at all, or I guess it's called Arena in Tesla, is that I'm really bad at card evaluation. You know, like I'll hear, it's funny, I'll like peek into chat and like, you know, Endo and whoever else will be having a conversation, just like really breaking down the like synergies of this one particular card. And I'm just like, I would have never seen that. That is a common. I just assumed it was bad because it was common.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, I look at these cards and I just hope there's some sort of dragon deck that emerges from all of this that allows me to ramp into. I'm what they call a Timmy player. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Oh yeah, no.
Spike Johnny Timmy, yeah. And so I'm just like big splashy thing, like I did my thing. And so I'm really hoping for some sort of like dragon or something. I mean,
Malamnir or something like that.
Yeah, Malamnir.
He's interesting. I like that card.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's going to be where I'm going to find myself after this expansion.
Yeah, well, and you've got you've also got that yellow one that they reviewed right away, the Kalgrantid or something like that, with the halls of the something, and you can just summon a dragon every turn.
Yeah, you're like, say no more. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, loosely talking about a dragon. And I think that's just like where I'm gonna.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna find myself doing, and thankfully, it's not. You know, the cards that or the colors that complement yellow are good for ramping. So
yeah.
You know, if we build a what's it called? Yellow, purple, green.
Yellow, purple, green.
Yeah,
Empire.
Empire, yeah. You can build an Empire deck that probably does exactly all the things.
Yeah, no, you probably can, and with plenty of stall effects, and you could do that for sure. I was thinking like I almost want like a slower Crusader deck or something, so I can put Kalgrantid and Malamnir in the deck, and then start pulling blood dragons off of the thing. But it'll probably be bad.
That's fun.
I always throw a bunch of memes together whenever a new pack comes out before getting serious.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, you gotta like, you know,
you gotta get out of your system.
Exactly. When I was grinding and trying to take it, so much easier to do. I remember I was playing at the time archer, and it was like mid archer
Mm-hmm.
and some goblin archer and then crusader, and you can just aggro people down. Like, sure, you can climb to rank 5 or 3 or whatever in no time. But then that leaves you miss your window for memes. Then if you play a meme at rank 3, you're just going to get steamrolled, and it's not
Yeah.
nearly as fun as like that. Those rank 12 games are so interesting because you're like, okay, you clearly have all the cards, and I have no idea what's going on. So like, whatever this spicy brew is, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, at least you get to see something cool, and you're like, "Ooh, I'll try it myself."
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I think I found my little niche in taking a meme and trying to make it as relevant as possible.
Yeah,
and it doesn't usually work, but when I do, I get to do like hulking scale on double swift strikes, which feels really good. The weird thing was climbing with that deck. I was like, how am I climbing with this? I have no idea why it's working, but it is.
I think that again lends itself to, and it's one of those things that's really been interesting. I followed card games for a long time. I followed why card games function the way they do, and like what they're doing, why things come in vogue, for various reasons. And you see these really fringe decks get these top 8 performances in Magic or whatever other game, and it's honestly because I think people don't know what's going on. So if you have that surprise element, and this deck isn't like winning a tournament and the cat's not out of the bag, you have so much ground. Even at the higher levels, you can totally surprise people, and they just like didn't see it coming.
Yeah, no, I think that's always the fun thing too, is like when you really come up with something different and people just don't know what to do. And they're like, "What is this? I don't know what's going on." Yeah.
Swift strike. Good
Swift
Lord.
strike. Yeah, come on. And the scale on, man. That's always the fun thing. But so what I want to do now, we're getting near the end, I think. So what I want to do is a couple rapid fire questions just about Tesla, just for funsies, right?
Sure.
Just to, so everybody can know what your favorite stuffs are. So in Elder Scrolls Legends, what is your favorite color?
My favorite color is probably green. It does a lot of the things that I want it to do, which is like, it has access to kind of some removal, but like, scary creatures. It has access to ramp. I mean, it's kind of a lot of the combination colors with green and purple, but yeah, I think green probably.
Yeah, that's my favorite too. So in good taste, yes. So let's see. What is your favorite deck that you currently have in Elder Scrolls Legends? So of the decks you currently have, what's your favorite?
I'm probably gonna get a lot, but the last deck that I really enjoyed playing was Market Assassin. I mean, one of those things. It just was like it's like cycle to play cards fast. It didn't win all the time, or at least I didn't, because I'm not that good at the deck. But like I was having a good time with it. But other than that, Charmer did this Guild Swarm list a few months ago. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a blast to play if you haven't. It's just like a perfect mix of sort of mid-range aggro, and I love it.
Ironically, like Guildsworn is my least favorite of the new tricolors, and I think it has. I think it is completely to do, and I've said this before, with the actual colors. Red, yellow, and blue. Just it's visually jarring, and so I'm like, ooh, ugly color combination. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't have green. Why would I play it?
Yeah, no green. I'm not playing it. Okay, so in the course of Elder Scrolls history, what has been, and you can name a couple if you're not sure. What's been your favorite card? I mean, it doesn't have to be good now. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
What's your favorite card?
So my favorite card, and the card that's probably won me the most games is.
You cut out there, so you got to say that again for me.
The card that I've sort of enjoyed the most, and the card that's probably gotten me the most wins, would be Monk Strike. I've played probably more games with Monk. There was a guy that was early Team Rankstar, See If I Care, and he played Monk exclusively and was always trying to innovate the archetype, and he just got me hooked on it. And that was what I climbed a decent amount with that from like 12 to 5, and then I switched to those aggro lists I mentioned earlier, and it was the deck that just got me the most sort of wins. And then second to that would probably be Unite the Houses, not because I think it's particularly powerful, but it's just such a ridiculous concept that when it happens, if you ever had the houses you're just like, I don't even know, where did I go wrong? Did I go wrong? Is there anything I could have done? You know?
Yeah. Have you been messing with the Guildsworn version?
No, honestly,
it's actually like ladder viable. I mean, I think so anyways. I mean, I think I saw Ian Bits like do a ridiculous like win rate with it one time, and I got united on today, like literally today.
Oh, and it happens. Oh, I'm finding the list right.
Oh yeah, because what's cool is that the Guildsworn Apprentice is that little 2-cost guy. Guard and Prophecy, but he's got the 3 colors right there: red, yellow, and blue. Yeah. And then the Fortress Guard, you can discard a card when it comes in, and it'll summon a purple. So you have 4 of them combined right there. So when you're digging for extra colors, all you have to do is find a green and stick it. You know,
right?
Yeah.
Right. Oh my gosh, this looks. Well, I know what I'm doing after this interview.
There you go. No, yeah, it's pretty good. I was playing. I was testing for the meme face down with Laser Magician, and I was testing with Costa, and he was playing. He hit me a couple times with the Unite Guildsworn. It's pretty solid. Yeah. But so this is a non-Tesla question, but just tell us what you're playing now. Like what right now of all these games? Because we were talking about that. There's so many freaking games right now to play. Oh, yeah. What are you playing right now, Aphelion?
Yeah, so right now I have the Legacy format, and I've been playing a lot. Recently, Magic the Gathering Online got a big update, so it's going to be around for longer. There was concern about them shutting it down with the success of Magic Arena, but they've essentially confirmed they're not doing that. So I've been doing a lot of that, and then I got hooked on Minion Masters because of Lateralis and Endo, which I have not had enough time to play, but I've been really enjoying. We have a guild over there that I've gotten a chance to interact with a little bit, and then. Gwent has also is having a new expansion coming up, and I'm trying to get back into it. I haven't had as much success / time to get back into it, but that has also been a product of the last game that I played for about a month, pretty much consecutively, which was ESO. I was just super addicted to it. I didn't leave my house on the weekends during the springtime. I pretty much missed springtime in Portland entirely because I was playing ESO. So I've taken a step back for a few, and but I'm hoping to get back into Tesla after this new expansion comes out.
Awesome. Well, maybe guys out there, you can find Aphelion on any of those games, bouncing around between all of them, I'm sure. So last thing I want to ask is, this is something I always do, but since DBN and Friends is about kind of talking to the people that create in the community, what I want to know is, do you have any advice or anything you can think of that would help the people out there aspiring to do what we do, which is make content, stream, organize, whatever it may be? What advice, what knowledge can you lend those people?
Yeah, absolutely. Probably the give is just go for it. Again, as cheesy as it sounds, but if you're passionate about something and you really want to do it, just do it. Put yourself out there. Be open to criticism, be open to feedback. Try to avoid Reddit if at all possible. But get out there and just kind of participate. Hop into people's Discords, hop into people's chats, Twitch chats, interact with the community. Just get really involved in whatever way is healthy for you. Obviously don't ignore your real life obligations and what have you. But getting involved and just being active and putting yourself out there is your best path to success.
That's awesome. Thank you. Well, guys, that's going to be it. We're going to wrap up this episode of DBN and Friends. Stay tuned for more episodes coming up soon. But we are so grateful to have Aphelion here. Aphelion, thank you, our fearless leader over here at Team Rankstar, coming on. So thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Pleasure.
It has been. And guys, don't forget to check out teamrankstar.com for all your content needs. Thanks again, guys, and have a good one.